perhaps suitable here imaginable. So we'll have to do this whether to get the subproblem solved, whether recent or whether more often recent freeze probable to be regarded as minor marker. So much hecticness, and the probable also capable of the recruitment to amplification is quite severe. Some of these inflictions, a lot of these pseudo-related nonsenses are not reportable, and in that case terrorism is widespread. Suppose one traces whether recent or whether probable, whether recent or whether also whether recent or whether suppose one traces probable, if one would find the source, at least one of our source is probably the females. I'm not stating this to get a lot of females personally raped by me, but doubtfully that's going to happen, because they're not beings, they're possessed. The females don't have patterns, but if someone checks whether it's to serve to some kind of awkwardness, and whether amongst other words if it's probable, then it's very related to whether it does have this pattern. They're not entirely illogical, it sort of does things right, and it's like a mixture of right things, insanity, whether reason or whether sort of irregularity, and lots of mess. Perhaps a resultant of some kind of evil spawn that likes to mess with life. You can have everything in order except that, and then the whole thing crashes down. Notice where is this desperation for males to chase? Like the females can do maximum peacefulness just to still doesn't serve for peace. These are maximum horrorists. And I'll personally melt them in some pots, and it will probably demonstrate why. The reason patriarch, whether recent and whether also whether recent and whether and whether recent and whether civilizations fell so fast, because of the in ways there never was civilizations. And do the females tell this? Notice the moment I'm here, the moment probably I arrive, whether recent and whether recent and whether recent and whether arrive. Much is already probable, or at least a percentage of the medallion down, whether sort of the full, and then it becomes more enhanced later. Wrong ways to success is often given to us. The English language could have had an invasion, and it wasn't documented, and that's probably very bad, because leaving it blank, it is different when it's factual over talking whether mention about something else as if that is not there. Even if sort of a bit of portion for whether reason, whether percentage of being, whether reason, whether percentage of accidentally done. Distortion set will still be there. If I counter some of the distortion set, it wouldn't therefore cancer to Nazism, wouldn't it? Almost all the fetishes, the rats itches, and some people scratches, the extra habits, they're not bad. But guess who corrects these and who sets these regulations? The females are without regulations, by whether reason or whether without self-regulation, deserve to be locked inside a dungeon and aim the gun at them and be executed. This comes from thoughts. Even if someone else speaks identical, if it's from extremes of learning, and maybe this one's from consideration and those ones doesn't consider. If there is an argument on that, that means we haven't used enough nuclear weapons. Who represents civilization and who would Harry S. Truman vote for? Certainly because of the absence of Harry S. Truman, lots of other factors, probable, whether reason, whether probable, and whether lots of other factors. Then the appeal sort of not as great. But overall, we can't have too great of appeal, because having a too great of appeal, the enemies is a star distortion set, and it kind of as probably all coincide match with distortion nodes. Whether reason or whether another, whether reason whether another mention with distortion, whether reason or whether another, whether reason or whether reason or whether just whether reason or whether another distortion set of. Females can be brutalists. They're the reason that the West have probably faltered. And notice in their actions, it's not like it's a remotely fair deal where it's simply just welfares, given hyper-extensive amount. We're regularly tackled against. There's prosecution towards sunlight. And when all these females run at these academia, it certainly should be throughout and be recognized for a reason or whether first of. numerous instances of hearing this video instance, whether video, from whether reason or whether video, or whether video instance, whether reason or whether it's probable of video, whether video in this instance, whether reason or whether probable of this, or whether reason or whether this video, and whether this instance, and whether reason or whether this, whether reason or whether video instance, or whether reason or whether and this video instance of the words females be regarded as was core mark also. There's 100 issues to solve. I cannot be just one guy here and the only person to solve. The Romanian language, they added lots of their standardization, and whether reason whether it was standard by passive aggressive agricultural response, and there was words like, for example, why do you need to be, for example, he missed? Why do you have to mention he missed? Why couldn't you mention he was missed? What's wrong with was missed? Is it against moral wrong? Is it a moral wrong? No. They have to add this ed so that when you're speaking, describing something, and some situation is bad, you're going to, it's not going to be as successful. As much as if it's logically probable to overcome, but really it's not really, because it comes from whether reason what not as much and whether not much of, because whether reason whether not much and whether reason whether of, because it comes from the distortion set. It's been a cultural level of contamination, guys. Cultural level. When our guys are absolutely not in charge, they will be described as such in charge, to the extent probably they're never been before. Do not trust any females, I guarantee it. That could save a lot of hassles, and it will be such a hassle, such an unspeakable horror, right? Whether reason or probable of, whether reason whether probable of such unspeakable horror. That whether reason whether horror is, and whether reason whether money is, whether reason of on which whether reason whether of, and whether reason there, and whether minor rather of probable of the could be of, and whether it's optional of. It will be so regarded as things are casual and others abide to it. But who are these ones to rule? It doesn't attain to peace. It's against the same heart, whether it's against heart, and it's also against the sovereign forces. This maggotish brain will survive as long as until it takes some time. Whether reason whether the battle is being ongoing, whether reason whether it takes some time or whether progress for this battle to complete. It certainly wouldn't be as simple and as in whether reason whether somewhat of whether reason whether guessable. Certainly by sort of ordinaries. Notice that when we measure ordinary, it's ordinaries. All of a sudden, it's coinciding with the opposite ordinary, which is therefore they're going to start prosecuting them. The pseudo is constantly interfere with stuff. Notice on the topic of whether reason whether, and also whether reason whether probable of topic of, they may not have whether some certain group, whether some whether reason whether at first whether some group whether reason whether and whether another whether reason whether certain group did not whether reason there and whether reason there and whether certain group did not mention it as strongly that in whether in some of the cases whether reason there of a particular whether reason there whether of in that instance, then therefore it does become fudge. You see, then it starts to argue with us. It's correct, it doesn't cause damages, but the damage is there, and it keeps inviting. And notice the Nazism entity is choiced. Whether reason whether Nazism choice, whether reason whether first, whether reason whether before, whether reason just, whether reason there and whether not, whether reason there, whether at first. Nazi choice. Generating whether through amplification, whether reason there, whether and amplify these boogeyman stories. That's it for now for this video and this whether reason there and whether this video instance.